Fantasy Football Show.
Hello everybody, welcome to Planet Sky FF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Serge.
And my name is James.
We are... Should I just get it out there?
Go on, Em.
I wouldn't say I've given up, but I didn't do anything with my Sky team.
Serge!
I know. I didn't, well, to be honest, I didn't do anything with my PL team after that tweet, and anybody that listens to the main pod will know. I did captain Pereira, Salah, and my... Richarlison on the Sunday.
That all went well by the sounds of it.
Dud, 27 points. I actually had no rank drop, 21 to 22k or something stupid like that. So kept me exactly where I am. So the way I see it, I just preserved some more transfers. I can now make 19 transfers between now and the end of the season.
That's big, yo.
What, a lot of transfers?
Did you have any returnees at all?
Yes.
Go on.
So from my...
Van Dijk passing for 3 points.
from my overhaul team,
Okay.
I hadn't subbed him out yet, even though I had planned to. Troy Deeney.
Oh my gosh.
12 points.
Wow. What's his ownership? In the top 1,000 has got to be nearly nothing, isn't
0.3%. So he was the one that saved me. I mean, to be honest, from a Sky point of view, it's just as bad as from an FPL point of view. It wasn't a great game week, was it? It wasn't exactly...
No, most people, I think, had a very difficult game week.
What was a good score this week? 50,
for me
60?
to have 35 points I finished on, for that to be a game week rank, which is not good, by the way, of sort of 68,000. But that tells me that there's about 400...
35 points.
That tells me
points
there's about 400,000 teams that had a worse game week than me, right?
I only had 6 players, and I got 27.
How did you only...
Henderson,
'cause of the
Baldock,
blanks.
Martinelli, Grealish, Mahrez.
Oh, wow. I mean, the only thing, we'll come back onto that, but it kind of leaves you in a better position for this week.
It certainly does.
In a roundabout way.
It certainly
kind
does.
of. But you've got all them transfers now, and some of them you don't even need to use this week, you plonker.
No, but I will make sure, I'm going to really make sure that every day between now and the end of the season, which might be the best part of 30 to 35 match days, I'm going to have the best captain option on all of those days. And I'll move around all my premium assets. So yeah, I done bad, but I am still going to play. Do you know what the biggest difference between that period of the season when I played and when I didn't play was? My spreadsheet planning out all of the fixtures.
So why did it stop?
Because it took me ages to put it together, because you have to split out the days. And
do you want me to do it for you?
Yeah, that would be good. Thank you. Or, I don't know, Mr. Krellin, if you want to send me your
Mr.
hourly
Cox
rate.
just takes screenshots of his handwritten notes, which I'm guessing may well have changed. The only difference really with my game week and yours, I'd say Pereira captain, Salah captain. I captained Jimenez on the Sunday.
Right, so that's what...
But those who had a really good week had the differentials like Diogo Jota.
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes, who's vastly probably not going to be a differential for very long in this game.
In any game.
Those are the guys who had a good week, and perhaps captained one of those on the Sunday. I dropped about 70 places, 1,190. But like yourself, still got a sizable transfer chunk left. I've got 16. And over the next 7 days, I could use as many as 6. Before anybody thinks, you can't do that. I might go, for example, Adama Traore to Ismaila Sarr as early as tomorrow, basically. So it's still technically in this game week. And then I can use 5 next week. This is a power period for me. And looking at the potential down the lines of blanks, doubles, this prospect now of Manchester City 3 for none over Liverpool is absolutely massive. There might not be anything better than that between now and the end of the season. I think it needs hammering into. The problem is where, how, why?
Who, what, why, where, when. So let's just get some housekeeping out of the way. Firstly, since we've last recorded any content, the Manchester City Arsenal game has now been confirmed for Wednesday, the 11th of March.
Yeah, that's correct.
7:30 p.m. kickoff. And that is that. So next week is a double game week for the Gooners and Manchester City, and that's applicable to FPL and Sky. But yeah, so double game week. Here we go.
This will have obviously come as a big shock to a lot of people. It won't have come as a shock to me and Suj. We've been kind of aware of this date probably from late January on the prospect. And those, if you go back even as far as sort of our overhaul briefing in early February when we did an extended pod, we mentioned on that podcast the potential if Arsenal lost to Olympiacos. In fact, it wasn't even potential, it's very likely to go on that date if Arsenal lost to Olympiacos, which obviously happened. To only get the announcement yesterday on Tuesday come as somewhat surprise, because I expected it as early as pretty much the next
Friday,
day.
maybe.
And the longer it went on, you began thinking, well, maybe it won't happen, but it's there and it can't be ignored.
No. We also now know about FPL game week 31. Who knows what Sky game week it is? The FA Cup quarter-final weekend, correct?
Yeah.
So, apart from one game, which we don't know about, which we'll know about by tomorrow morning, Spurs...
Not necessarily.
West Ham.
Obviously, if Leicester lose to Birmingham, as would seem unlikely at the moment, they would be on against Brighton, wouldn't they?
So, as it stands at the moment, Burnley-Watford on.
Correct.
Norwich-Everton on.
No.
Oh.
It's dependent on the result tonight, isn't it?
Oh, okay. I thought we may know by
So there are three games we factually know, and I'm going to use the term match day because I'll get the Sky game weeks wrong. But there are 3 games of time of recording now, Wednesday afternoon, that we factually know are on. They are Burnley, Watford, Liverpool and Crystal Palace, which are the Saturday. And Wolves, Bournemouth, we now know will be the Sunday. It could be the only game on that Sunday. Yeah. It's been moved to the Sunday because of Wolves' progress in Europe. So there will definitely be at least one more, which will be dependent on the Tottenham-Norwich result this evening, which will either be obviously Tottenham-West Ham on the Friday night or Norwich-Everton on the Saturday. And it's absolutely critical for my next moves because where I go and what I do is very much dependent on Richarlison. Mm-hmm. And that's why the result of that game tonight is really going to have a big impact on what happens for me between now and matchday 31, and particularly over the next week.
Enjoy the game
because
today.
If Norwich, I will. If Norwich win, which I don't think is out of the question, by the way, there's a lot of assumption that Spurs will win. Anybody who listened to yesterday's Tottenham, I'm worried, mate.
Yeah.
If Norwich win, and I've still got Richarlison, I'm holding on to Richarlison. I'm going to figure out different ways. If Spurs win, then I need to then consider the possibility of attacking Tottenham not this weekend, but the Sunday afterwards when they play Manchester United before West Ham. As much as I poo-poo it, I mean, Serge Aurier would almost definitely be the one for me. Just to get that little coverage off of there. And then there's possibly even 3 for 0s there, actually, Tottenham over certain others, because at the moment they're scheduled to play Sheffield United on the Saturday in matchday 32. So probably would take a chance and go in and look at, say, Serge Aurier, for example. So it really is dependent on that, because obviously Richarlison takes up a lot of funds.
Yeah.
And I need to 100% get KDB back in there. I strongly want to go for Aguero. There's a fear of will he, won't he? Obviously, Wednesday will have the benefit of the team. It could even be, say, in the Richarlison case, that I'll hold him for Chelsea and actually not take the 3 Man City games, just take the 2, and then attack the Arsenal fixture once I know the team. So it could be, say, Aguero or Jesus. Mm-hmm. Go for the one once I know the team and captain them possibly. And the other one I'm really strongly considering at the moment is actually Nicolas Otamendi. 8.8 million, basically got no ownership. But with Laporte's injury, obviously Otamendi played alongside Laporte in Madrid over Fernandinho. So I think at the moment Otamendi's probably first choice. Laporte's certainly not going to be back for any of these 3 fixtures. Now, of course, he could go Fernandinho and Rodri or John Stones against Burnley in the 3rd game, for example, or he might not play Otamendi in all 3.
Yeah.
But he's probably the most likely of those defensively to get the most minutes from it. And he's locked in for them passing tiers. So I think even in that case, if I just got the 2, I think it might be worth it. Two passing tiers, 1 clean sheet in there, it's going to feel worth it.
So your plan is to make 5 or 6 transfers, if you include Ismaila Sarr, between
there's
now
others I'm looking at. So
and
there's obviously,
within the next game week.
Yeah, potentially. So Adama Traore to Ismaila Sarr seems really obvious to me. I suspect Traore probably won't play this weekend. It's one of them where there's no real benefit in the fixtures because currently, obviously, they're both going to play in 31. There isn't anywhere really to manoeuvre it to get the benefit of Sarr, but I think it's one where it's a little saving of money. It's the right thing to do. With that in mind, I also want to look at Diogo Jota, which probably means spreading a little bit of funds, but I've got Fred sitting there. So just Fred to Jota and Traore to Sarr kind of levels itself out money-wise. One of the ones I was really considering going back to was Jack Grealish on Monday. But with Villa now definitely not playing in 31 because Sheffield United and Newcastle both won in the Cup last night. Jack Grealish off the table for me. It's not one I won't consider till after the international break. So it could be I'm looking at Sarr, Jota, thumping in 3 Man City players. And I'm actually interested in Marcos Alonso as well. Which might sound silly, but again, I think it would be just the 2 game weeks for me.
But the Everton game...
Just go in and attack Everton at home on Sunday, possibly even as a captaincy, and then Aston Villa away the following week, and then go back to Liverpool. Might be a way I go. I think Alonso's in there at the moment and all right. It's going to be one, though, that I can't see him staying in that team for the rest of the season, but he could be short-term an amazing differential, and I need to have a strong think about it. For me, with the transfers, it's the sort of gamble I can potentially take. So I'm open to a lot of ideas. Where I go with it is really, really dependent on that Spurs-Norwich result tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's the final piece in the jigsaw.
And also Leicester a little bit, because should Leicester lose to Birmingham this evening, like suddenly then I am thinking, I probably, as someone who's got Pereira and Siyunku at the moment, I am probably then thinking, if the Brighton fixture's on in matchday 31, then actually, I probably do want to go and attack Vardy as well, for example. Whereas at the moment, my current thinking to manoeuvre it is probably Liverpool to City.
Yeah.
And then to come off, obviously, the other side of off City and Leicester potentially, going into 31, which means bringing all the Liverpool back in for the Monday night fixture. I think if Liverpool had won last night at Chelsea, I would have sold all 3 Liverpool players that I own, which is Van Dijk, Trent and Salah. Yeah. And I wouldn't have gone back until 33. I honestly would have gone completely without, because they play Man City away on the other side as well. But that you can't go, now they're playing Palace in 31 at home. You can't go without it.
No.
It also means that if you are struggling and don't really want to manoeuvre in players that are going to get you the extra 31 fixture, obviously Liverpool guys will cover the captaincy in 31. If Spurs don't play in 31 against West Ham, or if you want to look at West Ham, Bowens, Antonio's, for example, or Ngakia, who's dirt cheap defensively, then obviously the only other coverage you need from a captaincy perspective is Wolves.
Jota, Jimenez, there's a million people at Wolves that can easily cover off that.
And should Leicester lose, obviously Leicester would be that Sunday against Brighton.
Yeah.
You might even think, I don't need it.
You probably already have a Leicester player. There's very few people that don't have Vardy or Pereira or Maddison or what have you. Everyone's got one Leicester coverage for that Sunday.
There's real concern over Leicester at the moment in terms of how they're playing. But indeed, he's back, and it could make a massive reflective difference on how they play stylistically, both offensively and defensively. But I wouldn't be, for example, right now, no faults to get Vardy for the Monday night game against Villa, as it would stand.
No. Should we look at a few Twitter questions, James?
We can. What's your... You know what you're doing moves-wise, or...?
Not at the moment. I think what I am going to do, and there's a good place to start, is dust off the old spreadsheet and figure it out. I did have a few moves that I wanted to make away from Sheffield United to maybe get into Dubravka in goal and so on to give me certain coverage and 3-for-2s and 2-for-1s. But I suppose where I got thrown was the City postponement messing up my overhaul plans, which then just had a knock-on effect where we're playing the waiting game, waiting for the fixtures to be announced. I think now that 31 is clear, now we know we've got this City double game week, up until 34 at least I can start planning, and I reckon I'll use 8 transfers. So where I'm battling against myself, you'll remember that probably around Christmas time, Jamie, FPO_Potter, challenged me. He sent us an update. He's at 9k.
He's killing you.
43 points this week. I don't know what he has overall, so Jamie, do tweet us and let me know. He's only got 15 transfers. He's got 15 transfers. I've got 19. Good. It's a lot. So the challenge is, can I catch up with Jamie now? I think 10,000 places could be quite tricky, but 2 or 3 decent captaincy
If you remember
returns.
to do things, you've got a chance.
2 or 3 captaincy returns could be all the difference here. So yeah, that's one to look at. I think, thank God, it's only a pint, mate.
On captaincy
about
for the
one.
game days this week, what do we think's best? Obviously, there's 4 potential possibilities now.
Yeah.
Saturday's got to be Liverpool, isn't it? Would we consider like a Jota Jimenez as differentials? Danny Ings? I mean, my intention with Ings is to keep for Newcastle, and it's another one I'm looking to move off.
Yeah, I wouldn't advocate Ings. I think Liverpool off the back of, I mean, it's bonkers to say 3 defeats in 4, are going to want to come back with a performance. So I think, unfortunately, for Bournemouth, being that it's at Anfield and the crowd are going to be up for it, I'm not going to look past Liverpool. They're going to want to get back to winning ways with a bang. So not past Liverpool for me.
Salah for me.
Yeah, Mane, because I own
fixture.
him. No difference. No
I think there's
reason.
enough. Although we would expect them to go back with the strongest back 4, including Joe Gomez at the moment, there's enough question marks defensively, even if you reflect on the West Ham fixture, obviously, to make you a little bit nervous about that at the moment.
Yeah.
So Bournemouth are not the tightest. I think that's if you've got Salah or Mane, you'll know the team as well. That's
correct,
the way to go. Now, Sunday's tough. Chelsea, Everton, and the Manchester derby at Old Trafford.
Well, firstly, I guess it's who are your choices? For me, I've got Mahrez, Richarlison are the only 2.
Well, at the moment, I only own Richarlison, but I will certainly add something Manchester City on Sunday.
I'm going to be thinking about... It's going to be either Richarlison or Aguero. Now, Mane to Aguero on the Sunday is a very simple move to give me the 3 for none fixtures. So probably, more than likely, as it stands, Richarlison. I think the Manchester derby is not going to be a high-scoring game.
I think I will go for De Bruyne. De Bruyne, certainly in terms of priority, would be the first for myself. And one of the reasons I think I'll go down that route is reflective of the League Cup semi-final first leg at Old Trafford, where they played this system with essentially no out-and-out strikers and tore United a new one in the first half, and obviously played a similar system in Madrid. Now, it's not to say they'll do it again, and knowing Guardiola, even though that's worked twice in high-profile away games, he'll probably do something different again. But I'd be keen to take the chance that he does similar. Because if he does, De Bruyne's essentially playing false 9 or advanced 10, depending on how you want to look at it. And therefore, I'd think, like, in that area, he could just do so much damage. He's had the break of this midweek, and obviously he came on as a sub in the cup final at Wembley. So he's a certainty for me to start that particular fixture. So almost definitely for me, Kevin De Bruyne on the Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, United have kept 3 clean sheets in a row, right, in the league and what have you.
Conceded at Everton.
Yeah, prior to that, I don't know. I just think it's not going to be a high-scoring game.
No, I don't think it ever particularly is.
Away at Chelsea are leaky at the back, so I like my odds on Richarlison there. I mean, it's tough. Like you said, it's tough.
I got Marcus Alonso and obviously had the team news confirmed that he starts, I would maybe consider that, actually. I think depends how I'm going to manoeuvre. Alonso is just I wouldn't recommend that anyone goes for Marcus Alonso. I think it might just be a move specifically for people like me with a number of transfers in hand, really looking to hammer this particular game week.
Yeah.
And also, if you're having it as the captaincy on Sunday as well, I mean, you're then at the 3 for 0, and you as well, possibly, rather than a 2 for 0 if you're putting the armband on him. Monday night, it's just Pereira, is it?
No, I own Grealish at the moment, so I'll be putting the armband on him.
Okay, yeah, I think that's absolutely fine. It will be Pereira for me, although, like I said, if Leicester do lose to Birmingham in the Cup, then I'm keen to get Vardy back in for the fixture. Yeah. And obviously, you would have the benefit of knowing if he does or doesn't start, he's carrying this knock. But perception seems to be that he will be back and start on Monday evening. And then Wednesday, obviously, we get the team news, right?
Yeah. But I think, it'll be a City asset. Aguero or Mahrez for me.
It's the sort of fixture and what he's done to them in the past that if Aguero would start, I probably would favour it. Particularly if he hadn't played at Old Trafford as well. And I suspect that might be what happens.
Yep. Interesting. We've got a few Twitter questions here, James, to get through.
Go for it.
Foxy How are you? Hope you're doing all right up in Leicester. How does the double game week announcement last night change your plans?
It doesn't.
Yeah, there was always that come off Liverpool, get onto City
It
anyway.
doesn't, because I expected it, and certainly for me, looking at De Bruyne for Sunday was always a strong possibility. It's just absolutely confirmed it for me. It's probably made me look deeper at people like, obviously,
Otamendi maybe.
Yeah, a little bit, because I wouldn't have, if Laporte had been fit, it would have been no consideration for me. But he is a consideration now.
Yep.
He's also obviously someone who's a threat from set pieces, and that as well is worth saying.
It's a threat with red cards as well, mate. So
he's a threat of a calamity. There's no doubt about it.
yeah.
But short-termism, I think it might be another one that could be a good move for me. Aguero interest. Mahrez is another one who I think, although it's worth saying Leroy Sané is now playing for the second team and he's close.
Yeah.
So you would think this is a good week at some point, and we're not saying go and buy Leroy Sané, that he's going to get something here over these 3 fixtures. He's got to be involved somewhere. That would put me off Mahrez, would put me off Sterling, would put me off Bernardo Silva. So I think for me, it's narrowed down to the 3, really. The other one, of course, which is the lock for all 3 fixtures, and some people might want to consider, is Ederson. Have we got enough trust in them? At least we've
might take a penalty or
with
two.
Otamendi,
You never know.
Let's put it like this: compare Otamendi and Ederson, for example. And obviously, they're actually price-wise, they're not too dissimilar. I think Ederson's 8, isn't he? And Otamendi's 8-8. Ederson, 3 games. Save bonus, probably unlikely. How many clean sheets, those 3 fixtures?
Between 0 and 3.
Yeah. Well, I get that. It's potentially 30 plus points, isn't it?
It's potentially 6.
It's probably let's say 1. Just judging on City being City, it's 1.
So you're looking at 10 points. 10
We're looking at 2
points.
appearance points. So let's say he's 1-9, a 2 and a 2, 13 points. Is that worth it? A lot of guys would say to me, transfer wise, 10 or more, it's worth it. That's probably a consideration. Otamendi, 2 games rather than 3, and I think that's probably what it'll be. 5 and a 5 certainty. It's almost already got me at the 10. If we throw a clean sheet on there as well, would outperform Ederson. There's a goal prospect as well, potentially. So I think Otamendi over Ederson in this unique case would actually be the right call. I think for me, having held Dean Henderson through last week with no fixture, to then come off after they play, is it Norwich they've got at the weekend? I think it is Sheffield United, would feel wrong. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I think it would be stuck in my mind that, no, I made the decision, I'm just holding Henderson through. I'm not worrying about blanks, doubles. He's one that's sitting in there as a lock for me.
If Spurs win tonight, this is coming from Glenn Roy. If Spurs win tonight, when's the right time to jump off Richarlison?
It's a good question, because what you would have liked with Richarlison this week is that they'd have played the Saturday, and then 100% you go, yep. They've obviously got a big gap between Sunday at Chelsea and then they play Liverpool on the Monday night.
Yeah.
And then obviously
Saturday.
gap again to match day 32. So you're potentially looking at 3s, possibly even a couple of 4-1s. Should Leicester, for example, lose to Birmingham in the Cup, you're looking at a 4-1 Leicester if you move to them on the Monday night, for example.
Yep.
And then you'd have to come off. You have to. You suddenly, honestly, you'd be back in going, well, okay, even Maddison, Harvey Barnes, spread the funds, add another one defensively, whatever you think of Leicester at the moment. So Monday is a possibility.
Why would you not hold Richarlison, surely? Because their Norwich-Everton game will be on.
One of the things
do you need to move away from him?
Well, no, if Norwich win tonight, Richarlison stays for me.
Yeah.
Definitely stays. I wouldn't
because
sell him.
If Norwich win, their game in 32 is off.
Sorry, say that again.
If Norwich win, then they'll be playing FA Cup football. So the Norwich-Everton game would be
correct,
off. Therefore,
yeah.
Richarlison wouldn't have a game.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is potentially like a Leicester 4-1 should Leicester lose tonight as well.
Right.
And the Richarlison fixture you'd be missing is Liverpool. One of the things I was considering, actually, if Liverpool lost, was actually to captain Richarlison against Liverpool on that Monday night.
Yeah.
And like I said, just completely go without Liverpool for a few weeks would have been a big gamble. I'm not sure the right answer on that. I think it's quite likely that you'll just have to take that there's no gain, and you're probably selling following the Chelsea fixture and before they play Liverpool. From a Sky perspective, it's probably not necessarily strategically the right thing to do. But I think with it being a Liverpool fixture, that would maybe be right time, as long as that Everton fixture is off.
Yeah. We have just a couple more questions because a few people are asking basically Liverpool versus City assets, 3-0. We've talked about that to death now. Benny Blanco, best Traore replacement, and you've mentioned both these players and you might buy both, but for Benny's benefit, if you could only pick one, would you go to Sarr or Jota?
If I didn't have Jimenez, definitely Jota. It's absolutely okay to have both. I've been sitting there with Jimenez and Traore, for example, and had it in the back of my mind to possibly add Jota to the two of them. What's different now and we don't know right now the circumstance with Traore dislocated his shoulder again on Sunday. Is he going to be available? Isn't he going to be available? I think it's enough of a risk to think he's certainly with these European games as well. They're going to manage him. If they don't play Traore, they are likely to go back to this 5-3-2/3-5-2, which massively benefits Jota from an attacking output potential. And suddenly he, from having a really disappointing season, becomes a very good midfield asset in this game. And he's not the only one. There are obviously Ismaila Sarr. You've still got Jack Grealish. Don't buy Jack Grealish, but if you're on, it's fine. Obviously, keep. He's a Monday option for you. Bruno Fernandes, obviously. Kevin De Bruyne and Riyad Mahrez with these fixtures. Suddenly, midfielders are emerging here.
This is leading very neatly onto our question from Joe Finley Batter. Is 3-4-3 or even 3-5-2 now viable with the emergence of new midfield options? Fernandes, Jota, Sarr, and so on. I suppose what he's saying there is you're going from 3 midfielders to 4 or 5 midfielders.
Just on Bruno Fernandes, everybody wants him at the moment. You can see the potential, a little bit like Grealish. If United play well, he's going to pick up man of the matches.
Yeah,
he's going to pick up shot tiers, the odd pass in TR, and he's certainly obviously going to get returns as well. For me, timing-wise, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. I would rather go with one of the City guys, I think, as captaincy on Sunday, personally. I obviously don't own him at the moment. The following week, they go to Spurs, which would appeal. If I owned him in that fixture, I would captain him, by the way.
Yeah.
But as someone who's investing a lot of my pounds in Wolves at the moment, I would rather go with Jimenez or Jota away to West Ham on that particular day.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, we now know that the 31 fixture against Sheffield United will definitely be off because Sheffield United won last night. So timing-wise, Fernandes is just not going to be for me till after the international break, and I'm just going to have to keep my fingers crossed a little bit that he stops what he's doing, because he certainly is, and I don't think just for now, that possibly even looking beyond into next season, he's going to be a very, very good asset in this particular format of the game. But yes, midfielders are emerging. There isn't a right or wrong on formations. I think you've got to be flexible to move it.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay for me if funds-wise, say if I decide I don't want to go for Aguero, it's okay to go Salah to Otamendi and just leave that hold in there. What you don't want to be in a position is, one of the things I was looking at was I ended up with a 4-3-3 formation, for example, with no Liverpool and 3 City players. Now then, to manoeuvre one of the Liverpool defensive players back in is really difficult.
Yep.
So you're having to you would have to go back to 2 Liverpool at least, really, and then are you going to be able to afford it? That's the issue. Going a 4-3-3 and leaving yourself with no Liverpool during this period is going to leave you difficult to get back in defensive areas if you set up with the wrong formation. So I'm conscious of not blowing out all of my Liverpool.
Yeah. And the last question, and this is a very simple, quick and easy one, comes from Opposite FPL and is prefaced with a bit of a boring question, but also applies to FPL. Would you rather have, and this has been asked a lot, Mane or Salah for the rest of the season in Sky?
Salah. Just because of the extra potential of the shot tiering.
Yeah.
That's all that's in it.
Simple as that.
FPL, I'd probably prefer Mane.
It's cheaper in FPL, so that's a bit of a...
It's the extra on the shot tiers for Salah that just gives him the edge in this particular format.
There we go. There we go with the Twitter questions, James. So will
Nice.
you be tweeting your transfers as you go along over the course of the weekend?
No, I probably won't. Fuck them. I might do. I might release that. I'm always a little bit conscious of putting it on Twitter because some dickhead will come back to me and go, yeah, well, that's not his real price. And I just, oh God, I'm gonna have to use screenshots here. What game's that? And I just think, I can't really be asked on it. It's not a case of hiding what I'm intending to do here. Every move I make is completely dependent on Richarlison. What I would say is on the live stream I do on Friday afternoon, I'll say it on that.
Okay.
I will say exactly what my plans are going to be. So if you want to jump in the conversation at that, some point between 12 and 3 p.m. Friday afternoon, depending on when little Harry goes to sleep.
There we go. Another Sky FF in the can. 10 weeks left. Well, kind of sort of depending on international breaks and how everything pans out. If you do have any comments or what have you on Sky FF, do jump in the comments on the tweet as the show goes out, or in the comments on YouTube, which are all greatly appreciated. What do we have left? Clash of the Correspondents tomorrow?
Clash of the Correspondents tomorrow. One of the things we didn't mention on this podcast was Arsenal at all. No consideration, Aubameyang?
No.
It just doesn't work for me financially. If it works for you, great. Go and do it. You'll certainly get 2 fixtures out of him. There's obviously no gain going Saturday.
Yeah.
But you might think he's optional for you for the Wednesday and have a decent fixture away to Brighton the following Saturday. So, of course, yes, you can consider it. It's just not going to work for me money-wise personally.
Yeah.
And obviously knowing as well, they now don't play at Southampton in matchday 31. Clash of Correspondents tomorrow is Arsenal v West Ham, 350 Adam, FI_FPL Addict 123, Chris, our West Ham correspondent. There's some interesting stuff in there, and actually particularly on
Aubameyang. And then
Friday,
final plan.
and I'd recommend Sky viewers possibly coming back for that, even though it will be more FPL content, because a lot of it is going to be based on, once we've got the full cut picture, what matchday 34 and 37 might look like in terms of what fixture goes where. We can start making estimates on Friday, and I will. Certainly, for example, Leicester 31 from matchday 31 is almost certainly, because of the TV scheduling, going to go into matchday 37. I'll detail why.
Interesting. So, guys, do stay tuned for all the FPL, fantasy football, Sky FF, regular football, other content that we have lined up for you this week. Hit like, subscribe, notification bell, and anything else that sends a wave of happiness our way. And we'll be back at you tomorrow. Ciao for now.
Good luck, everybody. Cue music, man, child.
The Fantasy Football Show.